SSH'd from my laptop into the Raspberry Pi. I'll show you real quick how you turn that on. -config. So it's raspi-config. You go into interface options, number 3, and here's SSH, and you enable it or disable it. I enabled it here. I'm just going to exit because I already did that. So I was able to connect from this machine to that machine via SSH as the user Pi. I have since SU'd to root, and I wanted to show you bind and what I did. So let's just clear the screen. I changed the name d.conf to make it a little simpler. Now this is not chrooted or in a Docker container yet, or I have other plans, but this was just to show a quick way of doing it. Chrooting is where you kind of put it in a sandbox, the whole directory and all your files. That way, if it does get compromised, no one can get into the rest of your file system. That's a little older way to do it. Docker containers creates a little container, for lack of a better word, and it has a bunch of other features, which I can go into in another time. But so basically, I created -computing.com, and I'm allowing, well, anyone to query it. Now this is on private address space at my house, so no one else can reach it. So if you tried to resolve off this, it won't work. But here I basically created a file called the -9computing.com database.db, and I created a reverse zone and called it that, 192.168.1.1.0.db, and they are all going to be found in the etc bind zones directory as defined here. So if we look on this screen, if I do an ls in this directory, I see there's 2 files. So here they are. So if we look in the -9 computing, so if I am I'll just cat -9 computing. So here's some information, the origin, how long the files live, and some more detailed information about -9 computing. This is the name server, or this is the server, the host, I'm sorry, and this is the an email address actually, even though there's a dot, that's really an @ symbol. Serial, refresh, retry, expire. Every time you make a change to the file, you have to increase the serial number so that it gets loaded and recognized by other servers. Here's the name server record. So this is its own name server, which is a little confusing. Then here's the actual files. Raspberry Pi .computing. I created this origin down here. So it just appends this to all these files. And then there's also the reverse for that 1A record we had before. So here's the origin. Notice it's in reverse. It's 169.1.168.192.in-adder.r, but it's the reverse of the IP address. And then here's the name that it points to. So to prove all this, I'm going to use the dig command, and I'm going to dig for www. Well, let's call it, let's just say -9 computing. If I type it correctly, computing.com, which was one of our records. So here's the question, here's the answer. It's a CNAME record, which is what it said in the zone file, and then it resolves to this A record. So here's the IP address of this machine. Now if I do a dig but -x in the IP address, it reverses back to Raspberry Pi -computing.com. So that's basic DNS, a forward and a reverse file. So you can do things like ping www, and it resolves because, so raspberrypi.com to computing. And what I just did is I didn't append a domain name. How did it know that that was www.computing.com? Well, if I go into my etc resolve.conf file, I put a search order here. So it just searches for -9. You can put other ones on that, but anything that isn't fully qualified, it will qualify it with -9 computing. It's a good shortcut. And then here, I said the name server is 192.168.1.169, which is this host. Just to prove it, we do the dig -x, and there we go, Raspberry Pi. And that is, your host name, Raspberry Pi. So that's just very basic DNS in a nutshell.